Our very special guest today from Hope Recovery, our friend Greg Schmalhofer is here. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning.
So great to have you here.
Well, it is wonderful to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, anybody you want to say hi to this morning?
Yes, I'd like to give a shout out and hello to the dear friends at Grace and Hope Recovery Support Group. Love everybody there and grateful for their support and friendship. And also a shout out and hello to my wife, Brenda, one of my biggest fans and supporters.
Yeah. Good morning, Brenda. So tell us about Grace and Recovery. That's a support group that meets locally?
Yes. So Grace and Hope is a recovery support group. We meet at Calvary Church. We're a support group of Calvary Church. We meet every Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock, so 7 to 8 o'clock at the church. And it is... for anyone typically struggling with alcohol or drug addiction, and we provide a faith-based perspective to recovery. Okay. And so we sort of model the AA meeting format where it's an hour long, 7 to 8 o'clock. We have coffee and light snacks, and we give a brief devotional message at the first part of the meeting, and then we open it up for open share time where people can share whatever is on their heart or whatever they feel would be helpful for them to share or for others to hear, perhaps. But it is a faith-based perspective, and we know that there is always hope with God. Yeah. And so we want to share that wonderful message that recovery is absolutely possible when you bring God into your life.
Tell us a little bit about how God has brought you and directed you to be a part of this recovery program and what you're doing, because you have podcasts and books, and we'll talk about that. But tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, it was an unexpected journey, Fred. The church my wife and I used to attend had a recovery support group called Discovery Recovery. And so I attended one of their Sunday school classes just to sit in to see what it was like, to see if I would be able to help in any way.
Right.
And I fell in love with recovery ministry and ministry in general, but in particular recovery ministry. And from that point forward, which was probably about 2007, 2008, I've just been involved then in recovery ministry in some way. At that church, Grace Baptist Church, I then eventually became the director of the Discovery Recovery Ministry program for 5 years, and that was a wonderful time leading that group. It really was. And I stepped down because I wanted to go back to Liberty University for a master's in Christian ministry. And while I was at Liberty online, I then wrote my first book, which is the Hope Recovery Devotional, and that just sort of opened up a whole new way and perspective of how to minister to people. Yeah. So the books and then the podcasts and different things are just other ways to reach and to minister to people.
So you now have 3 books, which is amazing. Where can folks get these books?
They are all available online at just about any of your favorite retailers, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, etc. Just about anywhere online they would be available.
And let's talk a little bit about your podcast. You do that from home. Yeah. You've been doing that since 2022, so almost 2 years. Yes. How can folks find your podcast?
If they go to the website, www.HopeRecoveryUs, there are links there for the podcast. I'm also providing now video content on YouTube. Yeah. And so some of that is available there as well. And it's all available through the website, www.HopeRecoveryUs.
And we were talking just about, it's amazing today with social media and with Spotify and YouTube, the reach that you have, that you've had the opportunity to reach out to people you thought you would never be able to reach with this message.
Yeah, and when I look at the stats, it's encouraging when I do that, because then I realize that it is a broad reach. Now, not necessarily thousands of people listening, but the reach is out there, and it's reaching the podcast from the stats like 12 to 14 different countries.
Amazing.
And then just about all the states of the United States are being reached or have at least one listener.
Yeah. And well, so just knowing that the right people, the Lord is bringing the right people to your podcast or to your books, that's great. Yeah. If folks want to go to the Hope Recovery meetings that you have at Calvary, how can they find out about that? Is that at the website too?
There is information on the Hope Recovery website about that meeting. And then, of course, they could also go to Calvary Church website, and there's information certainly there.
Yeah. Well, check out Greg's books. You could find out about his podcast, and then you could find out about the meetings as well. HopeRecoveryUs. Coming up, we will give you an opportunity to win Greg's books too, which are very cool. So stick around for that. Music on the way from Avalon, Apollo Ltd, and more. Currently at 69, our very special guest today, Greg Schmalhofer, is with us. He's with Hope Recovery. Good morning again, Greg.
Yeah, good morning, Fred.
Great to have you with us. Tell us a little bit about the message that you're trying to communicate to those who are in need of recovery.
Yeah. Well, the main message is that there is always hope with God, and that recovery is absolutely possible when you bring God into your life. Oftentimes, the feeling is that it's not possible, and that God is... they've done too much bad in their life, that God is not able or willing to forgive them.
Yeah.
But that's not true. The message that we like to share, that I like to share, is that the God of the Bible is a loving, caring, and compassionate God who wants to help you not only be successful in recovery, but successful in life. And that includes restoring relationships and restoring your life.
Yeah.
And so that's the main message that I'd like to share.
Yeah, you mentioned that the 12 steps really are the gospel, really are there for anybody that wants to find it.
Yeah, the 12 steps really are very much about God.
Yeah.
And when you look at, in particular, step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand Him.
Yeah.
That's all about God. And then step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out.
Wow.
I mean, that's a wonderful message, and it's part of the 12 steps.
Yeah, I love that. Do you have any stories about people whose lives have been transformed through this ministry?
Yes. Yeah, many lives have been transformed, and the folks have expressed how grateful they are that God has saved them and restored their life. One in particular was a gentleman who came to the faith-based recovery and had said his story was that he used to, in his addiction, would rob banks.
Yeah.
And through God intervening in his life and him giving his life to the Lord, over time his faith and his life was so restored, he was able to go back to that bank for a loan and got approved then for the loan.
Amazing.
And so, just lives that can be dramatically changed through faith in Christ.
And I love the restoration of that one too. That's a great story. Yeah. Now, you guys have a recovery ministry. You have books, you have podcasts, you have ways to reach out. But I know one of the messages you want to get out is for churches that if they don't have some of the resources are out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you for that, Fred. Even if a church does not have a recovery ministry and they're not able don't have the resources to provide that, at least have various faith-based recovery information available, resources available. Certainly these books or many other wonderful faith-based resources that they can have a presence in their lobby or where their library or somewhere that people, and throughout every church, there are individuals that struggle with addiction. And so if they see this information available in their church, that would be not only an encouragement, but could be a dramatic turning point in their life.
Some of the resources out there are your podcast. What's the name of your podcast?
It is the Hope Recovery Podcast.
Great. How can people find it?
Just go to the website, HopeRecoveryUs. That is there, links to the books and other resources as well. And there's a link to the Grace and Hope Recovery Support Group as well.
Yeah, lots of opportunities for you to find out about recovery. Greg has 3 books, the Hope Recovery Devotional, the 12 Steps of Recovery, and the 12 Keys of Faith-Based Recovery. These are all available wherever you could find books online, Amazon, and all the other
Barnes
spots.
& Noble, yeah.
Yeah. Greg, it's been so great to have you as a guest. Once again, we want to invite people, HopeRecoveryUs. Thank you for coming in today.
It was my pleasure, and thank you all very much, and thank you for making it such a fun time. This
was a fun time.
Well, we're super excited. Greg has blessed us with a set of 3 of his books. We have the 12 Steps, the 12 keys, and also his devotional. So right now, caller number 3, 717-392-3690. Greg's going to bless you with these books. Caller 3, 717-392-FM90.
Yeah, we'll announce the winner right before birthdays, too. Here's Hillsong United, So Will I, 100 billion times. WJTL.